Welcome back to the Alpha Sadat Channel, everyone, especially the B1 family. I appreciate you joining me today. We are still in a remote location in Las Vegas, Nevada, dealing with some clients. But this is just a quick hitter. I recommend everyone to check out this video on NBC News. So I'll just be doing this with one take. I won't be doing any editing on this. I might do a quick little commentary on this video, but you can watch the full video in the description below that I'll be leaving. A quick description of what it's about. In 1941, a developer in Detroit built a wall segregating the black residents and the white residents. He was told he couldn't build a development because of some coded language, which you'll see in the video in the beginning. But this particular wall is still standing today, and uh, early 2021, this Birwood wall was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It was as part of the civil rights movement and the African American experience in 20th century Detroit multiple property submission. So without further ado, let's get into this video. And anybody from Detroit or Michigan, just give me a comment if you want to give me more detail of where it's at and how it's affected you and your reaction to this video.
The wall is directly across the street from my house. I could stand in my front door or in my front living room window and I could see the wall. One question people always ask me is, do you want the wall to be torn down? No, I don't. The history of what went on, why it went on, and how we can change things, that history needs to be told. I've been here for 62 years. We moved out here in February of 1959.
That's me.
When we moved over here, the wall was there. We didn't know what it was. Our parents didn't tell us what it was. I don't even know if my mom and dad knew. It was kind of like the fence. It divided Birwood and Mendota. And the kids that lived on the Mendota side wanted to come to the park, so they would hop the wall. That's what the wall was to us. It was like a fence, you know, that's all.
I had a close friend that I often studied with in the library, but we had midterms coming up and my friend invited me over to his house, actually a couple of blocks from Birwood Street, and we came across this massive wall which seemed to terminate nowhere, just went on. And he kind of smiled and said that the kids who come to the neighborhood, this is one of their initiation rituals. You climb the wall and walk it as far as you can. And I guess I got about a city block before I tripped, fell into the soft grass of a backyard, and I just looked up at him and said, this is really absurd. Why would they not have put a chain link fence up to separate neighborhoods rather than this brick wall? And he kind of changed his expression, looked down at me and said, it was to keep people like you away from people like me.
This is the Birwood Wall, part of Detroit's 8 Mile, Wyoming neighborhood. Built to separate black residents on one side and white residents on the other. A housing developer built this wall in 1941 in order to guarantee mortgage loans for white families in a new development to the west. Loans black families were denied at the time.
When the developer went to the local banks, they, of course, inquired of the FHA because they wanted their mortgage loans insured. The FHA said, you know, this new development is all well and good, but it borders an area that is considered hazardous. You would be building homes adjacent to a black community, and there's potential for racial strife. And so he went directly to the FHA and said, what if I construct a substantial 6-foot concrete wall, which would separate this hazardous area from my development? And the FHA bought it. When you see the Birwood Wall, you kind of think of a southern water fountain or a cafeteria counter. You think of an artifact that would be more associated with segregation in the South. You don't think of it in the North. But to see the construction of a segregation wall like this was an absolute slap in the face of black Detroiters, first and second generation, certainly.
My grandmother, Bernice Avery, was a remarkable woman. It was my grandmother who became the vessel, the communicator, the person who led the community revolt against the inability to have equal treatment around housing. So the 6-foot concrete wall remained on the line of the alley at the rear of Birwood. Carver Progressive Club members had been slapped in the face before, and this, though humiliating, did not faze their determination. My family, my grandparents and my great-grandparents moved here many years ago, having migrated from the South. What they did find was that the struggle continued, and that while the restrictions in the South were very direct, the restrictions in the North may be a little more subtle, but they certainly existed. They were told that there were places where they could not go, could not live.
Bernice and other activists fought this injustice, writing letters to public officials and lobbying the government until they won access to federal loans and mortgages for the community in 1944. Because of their work, more than 1,500 black residents bought and built homes in the neighborhood. Among those were Teresa and her family.
It wasn't so much that they were making a point around integration or whether or not they cared whether or not they had a white neighbor. It was fundamentally that they should have the choice to live where they wanted to live. Her view was that as a black family, the right thing to do was to give them the opportunity to live in a home. That is just like a basic right.
We did. So, family, like I said, that is the Birwood Wall on NBC. I'm not going to play the whole video because you could just play the whole video. Why even come to my channel? But this story of redlining, if you have some knowledge of history in the United States, this is gone throughout just about all the states. North Carolina, Georgia, of course, Oklahoma and Tulsa, as you can see in Detroit, Chicago. I believe this particular video is just a reminder of the things that the foundational Black Americans had to go through and their strength, their wherewithal, and everything that they had to endure. And that blood and that spirit is still in us today. And just don't want to forget that, no matter how many times somebody from another country or tells us that we're lazy. Why haven't you done that? And I've come in here and built up this business, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm gonna leave it there. Like I said before, if anybody from Detroit or Michigan wants to leave some comments down in this comment section. Give me a little more detail of where that area is and how it's still doing right now. Feel free to. Once again, I appreciate everybody coming. I'm signing off. And just remember, when you're with the Alpha Sadat channel,
Game done changed.
Game the same, just got more feds.